This is a this is question number 13, and as you see it, it is about Indian city structure. And how is it that Indian city structure is reflective of socio-economic change? As we said, why is it that this question is significant? This question is significant because the Indian city structure is completely changing and continuously changing under the onslaught of how many things? Imagine anything and it's changing. Delhi is changing, Mumbai is changing, Kolkata is changing, and there is always going to be in the minds of the examiner that certain changes are taking place and certain things can be asked. Now, our focus in this case is mostly going to be about, when we are going to be talking about socio-economic change, is going to be on the post-liberalization phase, 1991. That is where our main emphasis is going to be on. We have to begin from introduction. That's one. Second is that is post liberalization phase, and there have been three tendencies that have been discernible. Gentrification, formalization, and globalization. Coming on to it, you have to begin with an introduction, and introduction will go on to show that is the Indian city structure is changing and that the change is inevitable, it has to happen. That is what is going to be part of introduction. That part is taken care of. Now there are going to be the several phases in Indian city structure change has of course taken place because of the socio-economic condition. There is absolutely no doubt on that part, that is, it has taken place. But we cannot go on to begin with a Vedic period, then the Mughal period, then the British period, and so on and so forth. We have to come to a point where the socio-economic changes have been very, very, very stark, very discernible, and they have been very, very good as well. So that's the reason we are talking about 1991 onwards. That's what we have been talking about. Now, in the post-liberalization phase, the changes that have taken place in three forms. One half of them has been gentrification. Gentrification is essentially a gradual takeover of land for use by the upper middle class and generally very high class of population that is aided by the displacement of the people. When we go on to be talking about the displacement of the people, essentially it means that there is a complete change in the gentry. Understand this part. If there is a house nearby and that house used to be owned by some middle class personality, now that is bought by someone, and as it is going to be bought by someone, and then in the process of buying it, what these people go on to do is they go on to come occupy, make it a sprawling mansion of sorts, or go on to make it a very good apartment, having something like some 5 or 6 stories in this case. And most of the people, most of the occupants of this apartment go on to belong to a so-called high and elite category. They consider themselves as elite. So because there has been a change in the gentry of the people, this is what we go on to be calling it by the name of gentrification. That's what is going to be the name of it, that is gentrification. That is going to be one of these first phases in this case. Second is formalization. Formalization is the process of the incremental expansion of the informal sector to make it institutionalized, to make it more formal. It is the process by which the informal economic activities and informal housing gain access to some existing spaces in the city, and that is aided by government, maybe, or by private agency. So something like some hawkers that happen to be on the road, they are picked up and they are settled in a shop. There are going to be some people who are going to be slum dwellers. It is these people who are again picked up and they are settled in an apartment. That is called as formalization. So formalization has taken place post 1991. The third has been a globalization. Now globalization has a vast array of components that goes on to make it up. Globalization is essentially, that is the expansion of the global outlook, the expansion of the global thinking, Western thinking. It is a euphemism for Western thinking, and it essentially includes every type of a lifestyle, every type of activity, and every type of a process that is associated with making the whole of the world a global process. That means whatever that is happening in the Western world, emulation of the lifestyle of the Western people, emulation of the thinking of the people, it is a process, but essentially it always goes on to translate itself into some type of imitation. Globalization so far has essentially meant, by and large, only westernization. And when we're going to be talking about westernization, then we are talking about the influence of this Western form, Western culture throughout the whole of the world. And India is not going to be unattached to it. India is going to be a part of it in this case. So these are the three processes, that is gentrification, formalization and globalization has affected the city structure, and that is discernible. For example, most of these globalized citizens, they have a distinctive type of a lifestyle. They like to visit malls, they go on to spend their weekends, they go on to take their time off to lead a different type of a lifestyle. These are the type of people whose lifestyle is going to be very, very different. Their dress is very different. The thinking is very different. They go on to get themselves educated also in a completely different manner. They speak wrong English, they speak English, still consider themselves as elites, but that is all part of globalization. Overall, certain trends are very much discernible. One is the decline of CBD. That is, we are going to be talking about the city center. City center globally has been showing some type of a decline. Now, it showed a decline in Delhi also. Till the time it was revived by the metro, which converged in Connaught Place. But then Chandni Chowk has been declining. It has been a decline that has been discernible even in Mumbai as well. It is a decline that is discernible in Hyderabad as well. It's a decline that is discernible in maybe Chandigarh as well. To an extent, it is going to be part of it. And there are many reasons for the decline of CBD. One of the reasons for a decline in CBD in this case is going to be very heavy congestion. We are going to be talking about traffic congestion. That's one. Second of it is going to be pollution. The third is associated with the crowd. The fourth is associated with the mindset of the people. That is, the people don't like to live in this type of dingy conditions at all. The fifth is going to be associated with it being expensive. Very, very, very expensive. So CBD has shown a decline because of two factors. So one is certain aspects associated with the CBD, and the second is going to be some of these aspects associated not with CBD but with an option availability of the people, by way of which they will be able to move away from that region. So people have an opportunity and they have an option now to move away from the city center. That is going to be number one. Number two is, in this case, that is going to be associated with a shift. This shift goes on to take towards a service activity, shifted towards a service activities. Now, when a shift has taken place towards service activities, it goes on to show that people's preference has changed towards shopping centers, shopping malls. It has shown that the buying behavior of the people have gone to change. Every weekend, they must go on to buy something, and consequently, the residents' shop relationship also has gone for a change. So that has been brought about by shift towards services. What are the type of services that are going to be available? The traffic congestion in the city has ensured this fact that it's not easy to move on the roads of Delhi at all. It's not easy to move on the roads of Mumbai at all, because the same distance sometime back used to cost them something like 45 minutes. Now it goes on to cost them 1.5 hours to 2 hours of time also. So these things have gone for a complete change of sorts. Some people who have been living in Mumbai, Delhi, they will go on to understand that it may have taken some amount of a time, less than an hour of a time, to go from Noida to airport. Now it takes no less than 1.5 to 2 hours of a time. And sometimes when there is a normal traffic, it's only when the roads are clean, it will go to take a 1.5 hour time. But when there's a normal traffic, you can go on to miss your flights as well. That's the second part. The third is emergence of new form of residential segregation. It's a new form of a residential segregation. And who are the people who go on to get themselves residentially segregated? It is the rich, it's the elite people. It is these people who go on to live in sprawl. It is these people who go on to live in gated community. It is these people who go on to segregate themselves on the basis of income. It is these people who go on to live in certain type of farmhouses. It is these people who go on to live in a very distinctive type of an apartment that will go on to give them some type of an identity. That's the third part. Consequently, you're going to find the evolution of a gated community that has taken place here. The fourth is associated with the changing perception of the people, changing perception and aesthetics. So, most of these people like to live in some places which are aesthetically very, very pleasing. For example, you would have observed that that has led to the evolution of Ambi Valley. It has led to evolution of Lavasa. It has led to evolution of certain places like Greater Noida. It all began from Chandigarh. It all came down onto Noida. It went on to Greater Noida, and now it is going to be Ambi Valley. It is going to be Lavasa. It is going to be spread throughout. That's the fourth. The fifth is gentrification. Gentrification is essentially a change in the neighborhood of the city. That is, one gentry of the place is going to be replaced by another gentry. That is gentrification. It happens because of the fact that we have just talked about, that is, a new population comes in, that population goes on to occupy some dilapidated housing, breaks it, goes for an urban renewal, creates a new apartment, creates a new housing, and then shifts itself in that place. So it goes on to bring about a change in the gentry of that place. That is gentrification. And more cities are undergoing through this gentrification process. It has been happening in Mumbai, where some of these old dilapidated buildings go on to be collapsing. And as these buildings go on to be collapsing, their site is going to be replaced with new buildings in this case. And these buildings are going to be very, very different. That's the fifth one. The sixth is increasing tendency of the cities to become polynodal or polycentric. Increasing tendency of the city to become polynodal. Polynodal means it goes into have many nodes. Polycentric means it goes into having many centers in this case. Polynodal and polycentric. So, as you can go to observe it, Delhi has gone to become polynodal or polycentric. And what are these nodes in Delhi? Initially, it used to be Connaught Place in Chandni Chowk. Now it is not only Connaught Place in Chandni Chowk, it's Connaught Place, Chandni Chowk. Then in Noida, it goes into be sector 18. It is going to be another of this sector that will be coming up, sector 30, to the city center of Noida. In Gurgaon, it is going to be at least two of these places, MGF Road in that place. Then in Delhi, you are going to be finding itself as a Bhikaji Kama is going to be one of them, South Extension is another of them, Raja Garden is going to be another one, Punjabi Bagh another of them, and then Mukherjee Nagar and other centers are going to be another of them. It's without a city becoming polynodal, it's simply impossible that the city will be in a position to survive. The seventh is a changing lifestyle of the people. We are going to be talking about lifestyle, and this lifestyle is reflecting itself in the residence, office relationship. Now, tendencies now is why to go to office. Everything can be done from your home, from your house. Everything can be done. Now we are living in an age of internet. We are going to be living in an age of global connectivity, and it is this age of global connectivity that is prompting us to change this type of relationship. Moving from one place to another place in the city goes on to entail some amount of traveling. Traveling is reduced. Being in the house goes on to mean that you can go to work anytime. Being in the house means you can be any type of a dress. Being in the house means that means you are free of a lot of stress. Being in the house means you are far from the hubble and bubble of the city. Being in the house also goes on to mean that you don't have to spend so much on traveling. Consequently, the entire relationship of office and home is going for a complete change, and the cities are becoming more and more polycentric. And of course, that has been so, but the lifestyle change has been prompted by that form. Next has been associated with a completely new form of intra-urban residential mobility. We are going to be talking about new form of intra-urban residential mobility. This is stimulated by, ostensibly by, a new form of urban transportation. That is, for almost all the cities, even Lucknow now goes on to be having a metro. Patna is also toying up with the idea of having a metro, if at all that can ever be in that place. Hyderabad has, Bengaluru has not to talk about Delhi, Mumbai has caught up with providing this type of a metro facility. So this is an intra-urban, that is within the urban area some degree of mobility. That means that most of these new centers will going to be coming up that is going to be near to the metro center. And in any case, the mobility of the people has increased and people are going to find it easy to move. They don't always like to live in the central part of the city. So they can go to move anywhere. They can go to move freely in any place that they go to think of. And the last of it is that the shrinkage of a city's physical space. Shrinkage of physical space of state. This means that there are few places where the cities can be established. So far, completely virgin settlements, beginning with a completely new area, have been generally difficult. But then the shrinkage of the physical space of the state goes on to mean that there are few places where the state has earmarked for the cities, and these are the places, these are the regions where such type of developments happen to be taking place. There is going to be shrinkage of this part. Now, having discussed that, you have to come to a conclusion. That is number 4. Now, conclusion in this case is going to be self-evident. These 3, and then A, B, C, D, 2 at almost about up till I is going to be that component. Now, what the examiner is going to look for is, in this case, how many components have you touched? How is it that you have explained that? And what has been the level of your analysis in this case? That is when you're going to be talking about intra-urban residential mobility, then what is the one form of analysis that you are picking up for the purpose of explanation? That is what will going to make your answer very, very, very good.